fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you! I'll tell you! And there's like...
About Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear Solid, and tonight's industry icon.
We are most powerful when we come together, united by our common love for the art form.
Game of the Year. This is a very important award. It's the last award of the night. It's the biggest one. And in this category, we're recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. So the graphics, the art direction, the art style, it might not even be the graphics, the narrative, everything we discussed leading up to this moment, Josh, plays a factor in which game is going to be Game of the Year. Starting off, we have Doom Eternal, followed by Final Fantasy VII Remake. Then you have Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. What are your thoughts, Josh? You want to go one by one?
Yeah, I think we should talk about overall, each game, because I know we've talked about them in previous categories, but how it all melds together.
Yeah.
So starting with Doom Eternal, I think Doom Eternal fires on all cylinders that are there. The game knows exactly what it is, from a combat perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a music perspective. I mean, the game is simple, and it knows exactly what it is. It is at its best when you are just going into a room with a gun and killing some fucking demons. There are some awesome boss fights in it. There's some incredible music, some really, really high-level action. But also, like I mentioned before, I would maybe knock the game on the traversal stuff, on the platforming, because I don't need it. I understand why they put it in there, and that they maybe used it as a way to kind of make the game fresh, in a sense. So it's not just the same thing as Doom 2016. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I would say in a slice about Doom Eternal.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake. What are your thoughts there?
I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is a really good game. I think the fact that they were able to take a game that was so old and not just make it look and play the way that you would want it to now. I think the things that they did with the story that changed the original, that were surprises and fresh for fans, I think that's important. I think from it's at its best when it is, over the top and you're fighting. I think the narrative is fantastic. And I really enjoyed all of the characters that were in there too. I think my issue with the game stems from some technical stuff, just as far as traversing through areas and maybe the length it takes to get between certain areas. I think there's just some cumbersome animation type stuff and whatever in there that knocks it down a little bit for me. But I think there's a strong case, obviously, to be made for it being Game of the Year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Pretty much everything you said. I didn't want to chime too much in on Doom Eternal. I haven't beaten it, so I don't have much of an opinion, but Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm with you, man. I think this is a serious contender for Game of the Year. Like, I have no ifs, ands, or buts about this one. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think I have any ifs, ands, or buts for any of these games. I haven't played Hades, but these are all serious Game of the Year contenders. I wouldn't question any of them. Mm-hmm. Ghost of Tsushima, we've talked about this so many times already, as most of these games we have. Mm-hmm. What do you think, man? Like, do you think that this one could take it or what?
I think Ghost of Tsushima, I do think it could take it. I don't think it will, but I think it could. It just, it does so much so well. I mean, it is an homage to samurai cinema. It is a love letter to those style of films. I think the addition of the Kurosawa mode in there for me was such a huge seller, since I'm a Kurosawa fan. I think from an art direction perspective, the game is beautiful. From a design perspective in general, how you navigate through the world, how you experience the world, how you traverse, how it guides you, I think is incredible. I wasn't just wasting my time platinuming the game. I genuinely enjoyed every second with that game. The narrative is solid. There is some awesome combat. The sword play feels so good. And there's so many awesome, incredible parts about that game. And I also, something we have not talked about yet is I have not spent more time in a photo mode with a game in my entire life. I mean, I spent a lot of time in that photo mode. And it is just such a gorgeous game from top to bottom, directed and designed to perfection. So
that's excellent. No, I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to this one too much, but from what I played, I agree with you. And I think that the only thing that might hold this one back is the narrative, and they did that on purpose. So, I mean, can you knock it for it? No, but at the same time, if another game has a better narrative, that might knock it out, you know?
Yeah.
Hades, we can't say much. Neither of us have played it, although we would love to try it sometime.
Yeah. I think it does have a very strong possibility of winning, though.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't played it, I know people love it. I know it's an incredible game from both a narrative perspective and a gameplay perspective. It's nominated for a lot of the other big categories. You know, I think it is a serious contender to win, even if we haven't personally played it.
Yeah, I think this one has come up a lot more than I thought it would have in all of the categories. And I think that, you know, despite however many awards it'll win, it's one that I'm going to have to buy afterwards and try it out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, Animal Crossing New Horizons, dude. This could be it. And I don't know if you realize that, but the impact that this game made, the amount of copies this game sold, you know, the time in which this game came out, this could be it.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree with you. This, one of the most important things about this game is it came out as soon as like lockdown started happening for COVID.
Yep.
I mean, this game sold so many fucking units, and it's insane. It's insane how many people play this game. How many like normies played this game? Just it's massive. It's massive. And it's also a fantastic game. You know, there's a lot of cumbersome stuff in there that we've talked about, particularly with the multiplayer. You know, I know they have updated like house storage and stuff now, but I also love the different events and the seasonal stuff that they've been doing. You know, I think we both probably have spent a little over 100 hours or somewhere around there with the game. And that wasn't a waste of my time. I thoroughly enjoyed all the time I played with this game. I mean, I played it every fucking day for hours on end when it came out. You know, there wasn't a day for a month I didn't play that game.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible.
I agree. I think if one of these games is going to be the sleeper surprise, like holy shit of the Game Awards, it's this one. I don't think it's not deserving. I just think that it would be pretty huge, you know?
Yeah. It's the most accessible game out of all of these.
For sure. And it doesn't have like a crazy narrative. It doesn't have, you know, a lot of the things, like it doesn't have it has great music, but it doesn't have like the Doom Eternal level music. You know what I mean? It's not cinematic. You know what I mean? Right. If this wins, it's, you know, going to be pretty crazy. That's all I can say.
Yeah. It has a lot of merit if it does win, and I would see how it potentially could.
It was like the hero of quarantine. So
yeah. And you know, it connected a lot of people too, you know, and it's just, I think there's a lot of positive things to say about it.
I didn't even think about that aspect right away, but you're right. It did connect a lot of people because of the multiplayer. We couldn't see each other, but we could go and we could play that, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And we were wearing our masks in game too, you know?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But all right, so last one is The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I don't know what else can be said.
Yeah, platinum this game too. We've talked about it at nauseum almost at this point. I mean, the performances from the actors in it are incredible. The score is incredible. The narrative is incredible, even though, you know, it's kind of controversial. and polarizing the narrative. I mean, it did exactly what it set out to do. It was directed brilliantly. It was written brilliantly. And I've never felt the way I did after a video game ever before in my life, which was just gutted and defeated. And to have a game make you feel that way and both hate and empathize and love and despise all of these characters at the same time, I've never experienced that before, and I don't know if I ever will again. It is just, from top to bottom, a brilliant, brilliant, and beautiful game.
I agree with you. And I think, Josh, well, first of all, I'm going to preface by saying this. I came into this, I did not know any of the awards. I did not know any of the nominees. I went into this completely blind and just went through it all with you, as we've been doing for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that I would say this earlier, but now, after going through it with you and discussing this, I think that The Last of Us Part 2 is my game of the year for 2020.
Brett, I agree with you. I did know the nominees beforehand, and I knew I personally was going to like it for a lot of the other categories, but since, it's been a little while since we played it, I think honestly just us talking about it again and me thinking back to my experience with the game, and what it was like to play it and how I felt. You can make a lot of arguments for a lot of these games for different reasons, right? And what even is the game of the year? What even is the best game? It's subjective, just like any other kind of media. People like different things, and just because we think that this is the game of the year, or that if it wins the game of the year or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you thinking that Ghost of Tsushima or Hades or even a game that's not on here, doesn't mean that that's not valid. But for me, with these specific nominees, I would give it to The Last of Us Part 2 as well. I don't think any other game comes close to what it was like to experience that.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth noting, I believe that The Last of Us Part 2 actually was nominated for the most game awards this year as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that goes to show you right there,
Yeah.
We're not alone here.
No. Now, what do you think? So, Last of Us Part 2 is both of our choices. So, I guess Last of Us Part 2 wins Haptic Intel's, 2020 Game of the Year award.
That's
right. Slap the sticker on it. All right.
Yep.
But what do you think will win?
I think that The Last of Us Part 2 will win. And if not, I think Animal Crossing New Horizon is going to be a surprise for you,
Yeah. I think it's either going to be Last of Us, Animal Crossing, or Hades. I think Hades could win, but I think Last of Us Part 2 will win.